We talked about this months ago when you said you've got all this background information that you didn't even know. I mean, no one's seen. I mean, you've been able to access email accounts and laptops and all these things that people didn't know about.
Right.
And you put it together into this book. And it's not, it's interesting, it's not like the Hunter Biden laptop book. You didn't go that direction.
Right.
Why?
Because I think there's a lot of people that have picked apart pieces of the laptop. What we wanted to do is use the laptop to answer a really basic fundamental question, Stu, which is the Bidens got all these deals in China. Who actually made that happen? As my kids would say, who made it rain, right? And that's what we thought was so important. And what we realized as we went through the Hunter Biden laptop and also a collection of emails that we got from one of his business partners, a guy named Bevan Cooney, is that the people who made it rain in every single case were Chinese officials with ties to the highest levels of intelligence, which means that, of course, this is not just a case of cronyism and corruption. This was an intelligence effort by the Chinese government, I believe, to sort of capture the Biden family.
Because there's a separation here between, I mean, anyone who does business in China, you could say, has some ties to the Chinese government because they're involved in everything.
Exactly.
But these are high-level contacts.
That's correct. I mean, we're not talking about the fact that you've got a businessman who may have to check in or may have to report something to the Ministry of State Security. One of the guys that opened doors for Hunter Biden that helped secure a $20 million deal for Hunter, his name is Che Feng. His business partner at the time was the vice minister for state security, is like the top 2 or 3 person that runs the entire spy apparatus of China. Another individual that helped him, Mr. Zhao, was at the time business partners with the family of the former Minister of State Security who ran the entire spy apparatus. So these are very senior level officials. And again, of the deals that we know of that the Bidens got in China, every single one of them you can trace back to a strong intelligence connection. And that, I think, is extremely troubling because it's pretty clear to me that the Bidens received this money, Hunter received it, and then, of course, paid some of his father's bills, so his father was a beneficiary, but they received it. And the question is what did Beijing get in return?
Is this legal? Can Hunter Biden, as a son, go over and do business with whoever he wants, take that money and pay off his dad's bills? Is that something that is even allowed when you're talking about a high-level government employee like now President Biden?
Yeah, no, it's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. Family members can buy gifts, right? You can buy your dad a Christmas gift or a birthday present and whatnot, but you cannot pay for bills, subsidize the lifestyle of a family member who's a politician, and you certainly can't use your business to do it, which is what Hunter Biden did. So that is illegal. We know that there are tens of thousands of dollars worth of bills. There's probably more that he paid for his dad. But there's also the larger question. I mean, they've wrapped this in the sense in the blanket that this is a business deal that they did with these Chinese entities. But Stu, there doesn't seem to be a real discernible service that you can see that's being returned. I mean, Hunter is put on this board of this financial entity. He has no background in finance. There's no evidence that he, got them some investment deal. So these are the troubling questions that I think we have to look at. And to me, the fundamental question is the Biden family compromised? Yeah.
You have done really great work in the past outlining that this is not just a Joe Biden or a Hunter Biden issue. This is a family business, right?
Right.
How much money are we talking about here? I mean, tens of thousands of dollars is notable. How big is this?
Well, we know that the Biden family received some $31 million from 5 Chinese deals. And those are all based on information. There's emails where a Chinese official says, I just wired $5 million into this account. So it's all information that is absolutely inaccurate. Again, there may be deals that we don't know the full extent to them. There may be other payments that we're not aware of, but $31 million, which is a pretty darn good take. And if you put this in the context of that this is an intelligence operation, imagine during the Cold War that an American politician's family would take $31 million from Russian businessmen tied to the KGB. I mean,
that would be a big story.
It'd be a massive story. And that's really the equivalent of what's happened here.
It's incredible. And this is almost all happening between when Joe Biden leaves office as the vice president and when he becomes president? Is that the timeline we're talking about?
It begins while he's vice president. So
Okay.
the first deals happen in late 2013.
Okay.
And then some of the deals occur after he leaves the vice presidency. One of the payments, or part of this $31 million, the $20 million deal he got, he apparently just recently got out of, which means he collected that money while his father was president of the United States.
Jeez, this is unbelievable. And part of me is terrified because you see Joe Biden's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of influence, obviously, tons and tons of control over our daily lives. But what's interesting is you go through this, and it's not just the Biden family. This is a bigger operation by China designed to infiltrate all sorts of areas of American life.
That's right. That's right. They call it elite capture. That's their
Elite capture.
Elite capture, their terminology for it. And it's kind of genius if you think about it, Stu. I mean, if you view the United States as your rival or enemy, as Beijing does, you can go head to head with them, or you can say, you know what, I'm facing this giant. Why don't I just decapitate or lobotomize the head? So I don't have to deal with the whole body. And that's essentially what they're doing. They're saying, we're going to strike commercial deals. We're going to pay off elites, make it so they don't see us as much as a threat. And then they're not going to react and be effective in countering what we're doing. And that's really the heart of the strategy. It involves politicians in Washington, D.C. of both political parties, Silicon Valley, the big tech titans they do it to, and the biggest firms on Wall Street.
How overt is this stuff? You mentioned on radio this morning, you talked about Mitch McConnell and Lane Chao, and how their shipping business was this tiny operation, right? It grows into this big deal because they work with China. But just like we saw with the NBA, if Mitch McConnell comes out and is super tough on China, they're going to blow that company up.
That's exactly right.
That's the family business down the tubes.
Right.
That sort of, it's not explicit pressure, it's implicit, right? And Mitch McConnell knows this.
Right.
So there's some examples like that. Is that the norm, or is it more like overt, they're coming to them and saying, you do this for us or you're in trouble?
Well, I think it's not quite as overt in that sense. There's an intelligence concept that they use that loosely translated to English means big help with a little bad mouth, which is what Beijing wants. And what it means is, it's okay if you call us out on the Uyghurs, that's the little bad mouth. That's fine.
We can take that.
Yeah, we can take that. We know you need to maintain credibility. We know that if you don't, people are going to become suspicious of you and what your intentions and interests are. But it's the big stuff we worry about. And what they want to do is they want unfettered access to our technology, unfettered access to our capital markets. As long as you don't disrupt those, and there is not really any serious effort to do so, they are happy and fine if they occasionally pop off about the Uyghurs or something else. It's really not a big issue for Beijing.
Talk to me about big tech a little bit. I mean, big tech is obviously, they want these markets open. You're talking about 1 billion plus people here. They want to get a piece of that.
Right.
What are they sacrificing? What are they doing that's hurting us when they're trying to land these big deals?
Well, if you want to enter the Chinese market and you are a powerful, successful tech firm, they are going to cajole you and leverage you into providing access to technologies that benefit their military. And their military is in direct competition with the United States. So, for example, if you look at Microsoft, or you look at Google, they constantly want deals in Beijing. Microsoft wants to sell software to the Chinese government, to a whole host of entities. Well, one of the things Microsoft does in return is they sponsor and support financially and also with engineering prowess, artificial intelligence research in China that is linked to the Chinese military. The labs are actually linked to the military. The artificial intelligence race is the one that Beijing thinks is key. If you win that, you win the tech race. So we've got Microsoft and Google subsidizing China as they are competing against us to win this very crucial race. In other instances, you have Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, who's actually invested in companies like BYD that do research on military technologies that help with guidance systems for missiles that are pointed at us, by the way. So that's what they want. They say, we want to do business with you. We want to grant you access, but you have to invest in us, which really means investing in their military.
Do you have any idea what the mindset is here for these people doing this? I mean, obviously, you know, there's a lot of corruption in the government. We know there's a lot of people out for themselves. But you'd think you don't want to put the United States, their home country, in severe danger, right? And that is what we are doing right now with a lot of this stuff. Are they thinking this through? Are they justifying in their heads? How does this work?
I think they justify it in their heads. I mean, for some people, I think especially the politicians who don't have as much money, the financial motivation is huge.
Right.
That's part of it. I think for the tech titans, a lot of these people are worth, $20, $40 billion.
Right.
Motive is not so much financial. I think they honestly have this sort of quasi appreciation or respect for the autocratic regime in Beijing. Not the human rights stuff, but they will praise how efficient the government is. Or Elon Musk will say, because the Chinese dictatorship is so responsive to the needs of the people compared to our representative government, which is inefficient. And I think they actually believe that. And they have this overinflated sense that somehow they're going to influence the Chinese. They're going to bridge the gap between Beijing and Washington. It's all ridiculous. It's all based on ego, but it's not just about the money. It has deeper roots than that.
Yeah, it does seem like that when you get to a certain point, when you think you're much more important and much smarter and much better than everybody else,
yes,
you can justify all sorts of things, and that's a big problem. Give me another, we got about a minute left. Give me a minute on Bush and Trudeau and their dynasties.
Yeah, Beijing loves working with family dynasties, and with the Trudeau family in Canada, with both of the Bush family in the United States, you see this long history where, the patriarch of the family serves as prime minister or president. Their family members end up getting commercial deals in China. In the case of Trudeau in Canada, when he leaves the premiership, he makes a family fortune by hooking up Canadian businessmen back with his buddies in Beijing. That was kind of the business model. And you have a situation today where the newest generation of the family, in the case of the Bushes, that's Neil Bush. In the case of the Trudeaus, that's Justin Trudeau, who really are soft on Beijing in a major way. There's a sort of quasi-ideological commitment. Justin Trudeau's even was asked once, what government do you respect the most? And he said, well, there's a lot to be said for China, because they just get things done. Jeez. So it is a massively distorted view and is very troubling, and they like those kinds of arrangements.
There's also been reporting on China approaching young up-and-coming politicians early in life, before they've been big successes, and compromising them before all this stuff goes down. And there's this sort of cliche of China playing a longer game than us, but it does seem to be true.
Oh, absolutely. It's about relationships. It's about the family. That's the way Chinese politics work. And they understand and have understood for quite some time that the race and the competition between great powers is not won in 6 months or in 2 years. It's one of the course of decades. And Xi has already said by 2049, they will seize the commanding heights and they will be the supreme power on the globe. And that will transform life in our country in very fundamental ways. It already is. And that's what people have to understand. This is not just about the terrible things that are being done to the Uyghurs, to the people in China itself. China has ambitions and plans that involve the United States, and it's already starting to affect life in this country. There's censorship in the sense that people don't want to criticize the China regime, and some of the censorship tools that have been used in China against their population are now starting to be used by big tech firms in the United States.
This is terrifying. Peter Schweitzer, who's written some of the deepest reporting we've seen on the government in the past 10 years, he's the president of the Government Accountability Institute, and he calls this book the scariest project he's ever worked on. So that says something. Red-Handed: How American Elites Get Rich Helping China Win. You can pick it up wherever you get books. Pair it with The Great Reset. Great couple of books you can buy at the same time. Peter, thanks so much for coming on.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to our channel so you'll be sure to see similar videos from Blaze TV, with the added bonus of signaling YouTube that your voice and opinion still matters. And if you're looking for more great conservative content, check out one of the 2 videos suggested here.